I'm ready for a ramen out on the highway.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the maiden voyage of It May Interest You to Know. This is a podcast. My name is Toni Marcolini. I'm here with my magnificent co-hosts and very good friends, Martin Mongiello and John Hartmann. And if I could just do a little intro, I think talking about Marty and John for everyone who I think are enormously fabulous people. Martin was a former White House chef under the Clinton administration. He's cooked for countless presidents and celebrities and dignitaries across the world. He was the executive chef at Camp David. Marty's led an interesting life, to say the least, which I hope we're going to get into over the course of the podcast. Maybe not today, but over the course of the life of the podcast. And John is the author of 2 different books. The last book, a memoir about his experience as a criminal trial attorney with one particular case that was newsworthy that he wrote about in it. I highly recommend it. Jacket is the name of the book. They have been friends of mine for, my goodness, decades, which maybe I shouldn't admit how old we all are.
30 years.
It's been a long time. John and I went to law school. I knew him when he was just a little itty bitty lawyer. Actually, John, you had just run for
before
legislature, right? At that time?
Back then, your hair was black and I had hair. So it was a while ago.
That was a long time ago then. And if you remember, John was a law student, a full-time law student.
Correct.
And he got it in his head that he wanted to run for office for the New Jersey legislature. And he literally just kind of packed a sandwich and went door to door, introducing himself. And to everybody's shock, John actually won. And there he was, a law student and also in the New Jersey legislature making laws. And he was all big and important at the time. Little did we know, John, that that wasn't going to be for you. You were going to go on to be a criminal lawyer who has a marvelous reputation in the state.
Well, thank you.
Right. So that's
the only reason why I ran is I couldn't get a summer job. I had nothing else to do. So I ran for the assembly. It was either that or work at the Acme. I decided to run for the assembly instead.
Yeah. Hot waffle sandwiches down at the shore.
Hey, I probably would have done that.
I think he was, at the time, you I think thought more seriously about getting into politics then. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I just ran for the assembly. I was always interested in it, but that was fun. It was a good experience, but it didn't last that long. But hey, better to be a has-been than it never was, you know?
Yeah, I guess there's some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to that.
I like that.
So, and Marty, your life in the military, the Secret Service experiences you've had, the military experiences, and just the amount of people you've met in your travels are so incredibly impressive.
Just lucky, just in the right place at the right time. And big secret was I always answered the phone. Yeah, I actually would answer. When the call came, I would answer. There's so many people that have their phones answered for them. Their mail has gone through. They throw 20, 30, 40 letters into the trash per day. The CEOs never see anything, even in private homes. It's a terrible shame.
Well, you definitely answered all the right letters because and I hope to get into over the course of the podcast a lot of the stories. Matter of fact, I think we have one coming up. Right, maybe our 3rd or 4th episode, we're going to talk about some of your experiences. So let me tell everybody a little bit about the podcast. This is, what's the easiest way to say? A podcast about absolutely nothing, conversation. Really, these are conversations and topics and people that we find interesting. And we hope that you walk away with something that you took away, that you found interesting by the time we're done chatting. There isn't a rhyme or reason to the topics we've picked. We plan to talk about nutrition, food, history. John's a big history buff, and he's been everywhere. So he's got some good stories to tell us. We want to talk about film and books and TV. We have a panoply of guests coming up that are already booked that we're all super excited to get to interview and chat with about their life's experiences, careers. And that's the short of it. Does anybody want to throw something in?
Nope.
I'm excited about a couple of them. I watched their TV shows as a kid. I'll just say that.
Me too. And there's a few authors even whose books I read I was totally obsessed with. And the fact that we were able to book them to come in and chat with us. I know we talked about this privately. We're super excited. Like, what were you thinking when you wrote this? And so, I mean, we all are very excited about what we've laid out just so far. And we have even more people working on bringing in.
Absolutely.
So today, we wanted to chat with everyone. I guess because the I Love Lucy movie is coming up. Isn't Living with the Ricardos or something like that? Life with the Ricardos?
Yeah. I've got a surprise for you. In fact, if I may just throw this on in hilarity, I want to make sure that I click the special button here of share audio because this is just too much fun. Let me see if you guys can see this, and bear in mind you can make a comment while I'm playing this as well, so we can kind of comment out loud. See if you remember this. All right, let me just pause that right there. Can you guys hear that out there in La La Land?
We can.
We can.
Okay, yes, everybody can hear that then. All right.
I love Lucy and she loves me. We're as happy as two.
Not everybody may remember this show.
Have our quarrels, but then
Really? It's in reruns everywhere.
Oh my gosh, no. There's people that haven't watched yet.
like no one can. She's my missus and I'm her man.
I have to kind of like introduce Raina sometimes to what these shows mean.
I love Lucy, yes, I love Lucy
And
Like,
we're going to
my
go.
experience is pretty much the same as everyone else's here. I remember watching them in your grandparents' house. I remember my grandparents had like a little house down in Cape May. We used to watch it during the afternoon with her.
Yeah, the Philco TV with the console. I was actually the channel changer.
Yeah, with their rabbit ears.
And sometimes you had to hold the rabbit ears, remember? It's
Oh, yeah.
And only if you held it and you like put your arm there and you put a little tin foil and then you touched like the dresser next to you. That was the only way to get it to come in clear.
Yeah, some of my fondest memories are when my grandparents were watching that TV.
We're as happy
The
as
All-Star Games and Hank Aaron and all of them.
sometimes we
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've told Rainey, we used to have to get a screwdriver and unhook the back of the TV to, hook up like a PlayStation or Pong, or if you wanted to play tennis.
That was really out of hand. You just do the old TV with the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
With the tin foil. Yeah, I remember that. My grandmother was a big fan. Both of them actually were. They really liked it. It was, I guess it came out in the 50s. So, and we were watching it in the 60s and 70s. Well, 70s mostly is when I remember watching it with my grandma and grandpa.
Well, that was in reruns. I mean, that's the fun part. I think about talking about the impact of I Love Lucy. That's how we really got on the topic, chatting about how big an impact I Love Lucy made. But it was weird in researching to come into this today. I was shocked because I had always previously heard that Desi Arnez was the person responsible for the 3-camera sitcom. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, 3-camera, all it really means is prior to that, everything was filmed more or less with a film camera, with the one camera straight ahead, taking the shots. And they, with sitcoms, that when they developed the 3-camera system, it was more like a play where the action would start and you wouldn't start and stop like to film different angles or get this person and then get the other person. You would literally just keep rolling, and there would be the camera taking the center, and there would be one off to the side getting, let's say, one person's close up, and another one off to the side getting another person's close up. And that really made, I think, filming sitcoms to be cost effective, easy, and enabled a totally different world for television. And I had always heard that system was developed by Desi Arnez. And in fact, I mean, I think he sort of takes credit for it in his book that he wrote. And I was shocked at how many sites and news places picked that up as the truth if you look into it. But
yeah, maybe he promoted it, Tony, but I think, yeah, you're right. He really didn't invent it.
He really didn't. And then when we looked into it, I think we were all surprised that he wasn't actually, I mean, it was around already, right? That even in the same decade, I think, what was it, Truth or Consequences, the show or something?
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, Wally had somebody, I think, who worked on the show who literally was, I think, involved maybe in Truth or Consequences or where it kind of originated, who helped him, use that tool for I Love Lucy. He actually isn't the person responsible for that.
Hey, claim credit for it. What are you going to do? Well, a great politician.
I think he certainly made it popular. And I think, he made reruns popular. I certainly think, the I Love Lucy show was filmed with that in mind, trying to create it in a way that it would be able to last and go into reruns and last for generations, which it did. And I do think that was probably the first sitcom to do that. And then it made me start thinking about, the sitcoms that we have out now, because there's this mix. I think some are single camera still, which involves just the one camera. There's not a studio audience. They are just literally, going around getting tighter shots. It enables you to do more location scenes. And there are a lot of sitcoms like that today. But the 3-camera, to me, are still the best, right? Because they're in front of a live audience. They have that play feeling. When you get Ray Romano to walk out on in something on the middle of Everybody Loves Raymond, that you're laughing so hard because the audience is even laughing so hard that they can't even get their line out. It's so funny. That, to me, is the true essence of what a sitcom's supposed to be.
And even all these studios that I go to, Tony, Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, even when they have the robot cameras now, and there's just one person behind in the booth, it's still 3 cameras. So it's 3 robots.
Yeah, and now I think they even put a 4th in, right? I heard from Mork and Mindy, because Robin Williams was not really containable to stay on his mark, like that they developed. They added a 4th camera whose kind of job it was, I think, to follow him.
Just follow him,
which makes sense.
It's like football. You put the one guy on basketball. You put the one guy on the other, a couple people on the one person just to cover him.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Or like in football, right? When they can't contain the wide receiver. They have a few people. I think they needed more than the one camera on him. So they put a 4th in. And so now sometimes you'll even see a 4th in them. But some of the, to me, Everybody Loves Raymond, all-time best sitcom of all time.
Even better than Seinfeld?
Yeah, I've heard of Seinfeld.
Even better than Seinfeld, you think?
I don't know if I should admit this out loud. I'm not really a Seinfeld fan.
Really? Okay.
Can
I say that?
Are you more of a soup Nazi lady?
My brother was a diehard fan. There was a time he was such a big fan. I used to think he thought they were his real friends. The way he would talk about Elaine and Jerry and Kramer, and he would be like, "Did you see what Kramer did last night?" I'd be like, they're not real. Like, they're not your friends." But that's how much he loved that show.
But so, Tony, I was doing some study on the links you sent over, how Al Simon, the associate producer and cinematographer Carl Frund, actually created this 3-camera system as early as 1947, just exactly like you said for the Truth or Consequences show.
Yeah, I mean, and they really deserve the credit. I mean, they came up with the whole concept of wouldn't it be easier to use a different, because that helped you preserve it. Really, the earlier days of film, I mean, they were intended to like film it and show it, and then that was it. It wasn't going to preserve well, as you can see from like a lot of the older films. It didn't preserve that well. It wasn't meant to be rerun and rerun.
I guess the films that are lost.
Oh, sure.
Like with pretty well-known actors. Errol Flynn has a couple movies that are apparently just lost.
What a shame. Yeah, that's Al Simon there. He passed away in 2000.
Wow, that was a good life.
Yeah, 1911 to 2000. So,
but how sad is it that he never got to patent it?
Yeah, and then he also went on to do the Burns and Allen show. So, just an icon in the history of television.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Could you even patent that, you think?
Yeah, I think he could have patented it. No?
I don't think so. 3 cameras?
Well, we're the lawyers. We ought to know.
I don't think you could, but I'm not positive.
I think you could have done some element of a patent, John.
Okay.
I mean, the technology even was a little bit different. Right. But I mean, ideas aren't anything you can copyright or patent.
Hey, let's go patent a 3-camera zoom.
Yeah, 3-camera zoom.
Let's get on right now. Yeah, 3-camera zoom.
Yeah.
So I would just bring him up so we could appreciate him.
And take a minute, right? He really deserves the credit, but he didn't earn anything from it.
I'm sure he did okay off from the show and all.
And I would think that they probably wanted to have him on many shows. I would think he was chased after Desired.
Sure.
After I Love Lucy, I would have thought everybody would have wanted him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, did we have time to run to a commercial today for our commercial sponsors?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we will be back in a second, guys. I think today we're just trying to take a look at the myths and mysteries surrounding the pioneering of the 3-camera system. And did Desi Arnez actually create this or not? That was the big question today. And somehow or another, the I Love Lucy show came on. So for those of you watching this, we hope that you enjoy it. We'll be right back in a second.
Did you ever miss someone who has passed away? Now there's Ugram app, giving people a brand new way to tribute the lives of deceased loved ones, or simply remember tender memories. This exclusive app is a user-friendly social media platform, giving people everywhere a respectable and comfortable place to create private or public memoriams. Ugram has additional features like chat rooms and links to deceased databases and inspirational quotes. Users can also comment and connect on public posts. Join us and keep memories alive forever. Everyone wants to be remembered. For more details and download on the Google Play or Apple App Store, visit miss-u-gram.com.
Did you know that at least half of the world's population still does not have access to essential health services? One of the biggest problems in developing countries is the lack of medical monitoring devices. We have a solution. Kipuwex. Kipuwex is an easily attachable, lightweight IOMT device which continuously measures all the clinically relevant biomarkers vital to the assessment of your health. Kipuwex uses smart algorithms to provide efficiently reliable measurements for healthcare professionals. The biomarkers can be monitored remotely, anywhere and at any time, with a mobile and web application. Kipuwex is not limited by physical infrastructure and is suitable for professional use and in the future for home users as well. A simple user interface will let you choose which biomarkers you want to view and displays them on easy-to-read graphs. We here at Kipuwex want to combat healthcare inequality and help millions of people around the world.
Well, guys, we're back again, and Toni, over to you.
Okay. Well, I think we were going to spend a little time talking about sitcoms as well, our favorites and what we liked and didn't like about different sitcoms. So I've already said Everybody Loves Raymond, my all-time favorite. Well, I have a bunch of ones that I like a lot. The Nanny, of course.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I find that all of them are the three camera. I couldn't think of a single camera sitcom that I would include in like even my top 10.
You know, it's hard to think like that too until I went to study film at the Art Institute, and our instructor, divided us up into teams and gave everyone a camera and said, now you have, a 10-minute show you need to produce on how to ride an elevator. And oh my gosh, the arguing amongst those teams of adults. No, what we should do is we'll film him walking forward, and then we'll cut, and we'll go to the finger pushing the button, and then cut. And then I want to do a back away on him, and then entering, and then we'll cut, and then we'll go inside the elevator, and we'll film the doors closing, and then stop there, and then him pushing the button. It was like, no, we don't, no, that wouldn't look good. It was like, oh my gosh, just listening to these adults in my class going back and forth. And it was like, dudes, and dudettes, like we have like an hour to do this. I mean, honestly, you don't think that way when usually you're watching a show, you're just sitting there like a drudge vegetating, just like a voyeur. You're not thinking about angles and
all that went into it, right? There's
no.
That industry it's hard work.
Never.
Both you and I, Marty, at least we've done producing and a little bit of directing for just small projects, and it's not easy. That's hard work.
I would think it's just tough to write those things. Everyone's got material for 1 or 2 shows, but to continually get the material for all of them, again, going back to Seinfeld, continually humorous is pretty remarkable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the early seasons, though, of Seinfeld really weren't funny. I don't know. That's going to land.
That's a bold statement.
That's landing on dead space. But
I'll have to watch them again, and I'll get a laugh meter.
You have to admit it got better.
It did until the very finale. Otherwise, it was good.
Oh, the finale was awful.
It was.
What happened in the finale? How come I can't remember the finale?
Yeah, it was something to remember. It was pretty bad. Everyone was excited about the finale.
That's a shame. It's a Game of Thrones.
I think that was 2000. It's a long time ago.
Well, it was the Good Samaritan law. Like that had just come out.
They were in court, and they had to go. And they were all found. All these witnesses came forward saying what terrible people they were. It wasn't that good.
Oh gosh.
And then they all got convicted.
Yeah.
Spent a year in jail or something.
The guy who liked to play the Johnny Cochran lawyer, he was representing them. Anyway, it wasn't the soup Nazis. Let's put it that way.
Did you guys watch Game of Thrones at all?
Yes, we did. I didn't see the last season, but I watched everything else.
You didn't watch the last season?
Nope.
Oh my gosh, because that's the one where, he said he had writer's block and he could not write the last season. He couldn't write the last book, and pissed everybody off with, how bad the last season was and how angry viewers were.
Well, I heard it wasn't that good, so I never got around to watching it. But yeah, I like the first six or seven seasons. It was good.
Yeah, I wish he would come back and say, I'm unblocked now, and here is the real last season.
If only it worked that way.
Yeah.
I saw YouTube like important stuff, like when the mountain and the hound were fighting. I watched that, but otherwise I didn't.
Yeah, the two brothers, I can ruin it for you. The two brothers do go at it at the end.
No, I saw it on YouTube.
Okay.
And
then they kind of left it open. They fall off the tower, so it's like, did they die? Did they not?
And once they became the king or the raven or that kid. But anyway, so we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. But, I'm sure they used the 3-camera system in that. That was a lot of serious footage, especially those war epic. I understand the CGI with the dragons flying around, but, definitely capturing all that battlefield action. Yeah.
Well, I think some of the reason that they don't really use because when I'm thinking, you just said, I'm sure they use 3-camera. I mean, when I think 3-camera, I think the true 3-camera sitcom format, like on a stage with an audience, and it's running like a play, and everybody's being photographed or filmed at the exact same time. When I think single camera, I don't know if there's a reality of whether or not they may have another camera going. But isn't that the system that would allow you to film on location and put in those like graphics and
the CGI and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are we
It's gonna be
CGI here for this show?
We can. Yeah.
That little dragon fly.
Yeah, some green screen action. Yeah, sure. Yeah, this broadcast studio actually accepts green screen. I haven't fiddled around with that yet, but we got 3 cameras. 3 cameras going today
in separate locations.
Yeah. So pretty interesting to read about Al Simon, just to comment a little bit more and all that he did and everything, including the development of the 3-camera system, which was the real subject of today's show. But he was also president of Ilmways Productions, which did Mr. Ed. Because I know, Tony, you said, gosh, a lot of people chased after him. And how about the Beverly Hillbillies right here where I live in North Carolina? Earl Scruggs, he wrote the whole song. That's probably his most famous song, the theme song for the Beverly Hillbillies.
He was a serious banjo player.
Yes. Yep. And Al also very famously owned a 1970 Chrysler 300 convertible. It was light blue and drove it all around town. So.
In your neck of the woods?
No, all around L.A. where he's buried, and his wife is still alive. It says that she survived him. So,
talking about Scruggs, there was a really good show we watched with my family during the pandemic, the PBS show on country music. Just giving it a little shout out there. It was very good.
Yeah.
Well, you're very into country music and guitars.
Yeah, guitars and music. Yeah.
I think we're doing a whole episode on guitars.
Trying to get an episode on New Jersey guitars. There's actually a long history of guitar making here in New Jersey. It's kind of interesting.
Well, if you come down here, of course, we have the whole Earl Scruggs Museum, born and raised here, and it's done very nice. The Earl Scruggs Center, they decided they did not want to have the typical dilapidated, dusty and cobweb-filled glass cases that would have inanimate objects in them that people stare at.
Okay.
And so they said, let's bring in some state-of-the-art Smithsonian experts from Washington, D.C., and we really want to make this museum interactive to where people could play the banjo, do a lot of stuff with their hands. We want to hand out, earphones when they come in. So that's how you actually do the tours, with a disposable set of headphones where you can keep them, of course. But also down the street is the Don Gibson Theater here. Don is more so famous for country music.
Don, okay. Scruggs, before him, the banjo was kind of like comedic almost, and people who played the banjo would be cracking jokes and kind of like in the background. But he made it. He actually apparently had a very limited sense of humor, but he was one heck of a banjo player. So he was all serious about playing the banjo, but he really revolutionized it.
Yeah, when he invented that 3-finger picking method.
Yeah, the claw hammer, I think it's called, the way he would play. And he could play he wouldn't actually move that quick, but it was with 3 fingers moving and simultaneously. It really could sound like it was wicked fast. Like from Deliverance, that's like the famous, something like that, the guitar, the banjo playoff that those two guys had.
Which is not what anybody remembers about Deliverance.
Oh, what's
right, of course not.
Everyone remembers that, but yes. Ned Beatty just died, I guess, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's terrible. Illustrious career.
Yes, he was. Very good.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up now. We're out of time for today's podcast. It flew by.
Well, thank you so much for everybody joining us. I noticed we had a bunch of people signed in, gave us some thumbs up. And any parting thoughts about the next show coming up about Martin Van Buren? Anybody want to have a parting thought or a little teaser?
Well, I mean, we're doing the Van Buren case, Van Buren versus the United States case coming up, which literally the Supreme Court just made its decision on. So I'm really curious to get into that. That'll be next week's episode.
Amazing.
Martin Van Buren was the president, the little wizard. He was from New York. He was one of the shortest presidents ever. But anyway, Madison was shorter. But the Van Buren case is a very interesting case for criminal law. So
I didn't know if you meant shorter in time in office or you're talking about.
It was one term. He's Andrew Jackson, vice president. Also, they call him, I think, the little wizard. I think that's what his nickname.
Wow.
So I think. I might be wrong there.
I love it. Well, hey, guys, thank you for joining us on the Presents Television Network today, broadcasting live to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, but also, Toni, this is going out on the podcast, I think, on Apple, iTunes, and also Android. And is it Spotify also, or? I
think Spotify, Iheartradio, Google Podcast, I think all of them. We'll put links up for everything in one place.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks, everybody. Have a good one.